the biggest thing is like, don't spend 3 months trying to build something and then just expect like hundreds of signups, right? It's like, just go and speak to people. Thinks that they're aligned with scientific thinking, right? Which is, first principles thinking, which is basically observational data. And scientists, like if I was like a PhD in, XYZ, right? Like if I was conducting research, they are happiest when a preconceived notion is absolutely shattered.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Level Up Your SaaS channel. My name is Jenna Lenningham, if we haven't met yet. I own a high-level SaaS company, and then this is my affiliate channel where we talk about all things SaaS related, so whether that be plugins, onboarding and support, or other agency tools. So today with us we have Ryan O'Connor from Growthable, another support and onboarding service. So I'm really excited to have him on today and showcase what they do at Growthable. If you don't know, he's from Australia, so we're recording this at night. So he's in another day ahead of me. So welcome to have him on, and thank you so much for joining us today. And without further ado, here is Ryan.
Hey Jenna, how you doing?
Going good.
Nice.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it just reminded me that it was late at night. I'm not sure if it's how late it is, but we just changed into daylight savings, so I don't know. I'm further away from the time point of view.
Yeah, I'm on Eastern time, so it's 8:30 here at night for us on Monday.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So I'm like, well, it's like 11:30. What day is it today? Tuesday.
Almost lunchtime. That's hilarious.
That's right. Yeah, and we're just hitting spring. So, and I think you're coming out of warm, going into cold. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay. There you go.
Totally different world.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining me.
I've been connected with you for about, I think it's probably about 2 years now. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, let's start off. If you could share with the audience like one high-level tip you have.
One high-level tip I have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So like if I was like an agency owner and I was coming in and I was like, I'm trying to be successful or whatever, one tip that I have.
Yes. Or even if they've been kind of struggling at it for a year or two, trying to get their footholds.
Yeah. Trying to settle on one is a big challenge.
Yeah. Go with your gut. What's your first thing that comes to your mind?
The firsting that comes to my mind is that, instead of trying to have something tangible to give someone, right? Saying like, here's what I created earlier, right? So let's use a really simple example, right? Really, really simple example, right? If I was a cook and you came over and you said like, do you have anything to eat, right? And I would be like, I could make you something, right? And they're like, what could you make me, right? And I'd be like, anything your heart's desire, right? Like that is a conversation that's happening between you and me. And I could start to say, well, what do you like, right? And you'd be like, well, I like chicken, right? And I'm like, okay, we got the protein, right? So, what else would you like, right? And you're like, blah, 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 right? And so if you think about this analogy where it's like, okay, cool. If you, like more than capable of doing like a chicken salad or whatever, right? And like, you would be like, here's one I prepared earlier, right? And you would give them something that as closely resembles that chicken salad, right? And then they'll be like, no, I actually wanted like, some mashed potato or whatever. And you're like, yeah, I've got that. Here you go. And here's the meal, right? And so like, you didn't come into my kitchen saying like, show me everything you've got, right? I said to you, like, I could make something work here, right? And I said like, tell me what you like, right? The point that I'm trying to make, right, is that I think a lot of agency owners, a lot of business people, right, when they say to themselves, like, I'm going to go to market, I'm going to go with a white label piece of software called highlevel, and I'm going to have a landing page and a website, and I'm going to have my marketing mix, and I'm going to have my SaaS configurator because I'm running SaaS. I'm going to have the feature set all worked out or whatever. And it's like, you don't know, like, I didn't know that like I was going to make chicken and mashed potatoes or whatever at the beginning of the day, right? But because I had a customer come in and say, I'm hungry. All I knew that I could do something to deliver them the outcome, right? And it was a conversation, right? But they're paying me, right? They're saying like, yeah, I want chicken, I want this, I want this, and there's like, here's the money, make it happen, right? And so it's a strange analogy, you know what I mean? But like what I mean by that is like, don't sit there and build something and then wait for the people to just come and order it for you. Do you know what I mean? Like just go and talk to people about like, what problems do you experience in your business? I could potentially do something. And then, you know, they'll be like, well, what can you do? And you're like, well, I can make anything you want, right? You just tell me like what you want. And they're like, well, I like chicken and I like salad and I like mashed potatoes. You're like, cool. That's in my wheelhouse of things that I can do. Let me deliver this meal to you, right? And so it's like, one, it's like you don't want to work for free. They're paying you to deliver the solution, right? So, you know, wait for the customer to actually pay you to do the thing. The other good thing about saying you're going to do something with a customer, right, is you come into my kitchen and say, hey, I want chicken salad and mashed potatoes. And I'm like, yep, I can do that. And I might not have ever have done that before, right? But like, why would I do it without you asking, right? So it forces a deadline on you to build the processes or the system or the feature because they asked for it. So my first ever customer could have said, I want to have a way to do Facebook ads, and then I want to nurture those leads with like an AI thing where no human beings involved, which whatever. And you're like, I can do that, right? You know, it's going to cost you $10,000. Great. Give me the check, right? So like literally have them write the check. So then you go, crap, I've got this check, but I don't have the meal, right? So I better get cracking and do it, right? And so the best thing to do is like have a conversation, tell them, you know, the customer says what they want, they give you the money for it, go and build it, right? Because there's no better motivation than to go, oh no, I better deliver what I've promised this customer now, right? You know, the antithesis or whatever to that is like, yeah, like you're trying to, you know, you're building this plan and this, you know, subscription level or whatever. And like people are coming in going like, I don't want any of this stuff. Like, I don't know what any of that stuff does. Like, I'm not going to pay $29 a month or $159 a month or $497 or whatever. It's like you've pre-built all this stuff, but we haven't actually had a conversation about how my business works and the kinds of things that I need, right? And so it's like, don't be scared to agree to someone to give them something that you know is possible with HighLevel, right? So it's like step one, you know, when you become a cook, it's like you go and learn how to take ingredients and create an output, the outcome, which is a meal. But that just means that you can have conversations with lots and lots of people, and they tell you about like what kinds of things they like, and it's within your capabilities to deliver a meal with the ingredients that you have. But you only do the meal, like you only make that meal once they've given you the money to do it, right? So the biggest thing is like, don't spend 3 months trying to build something and then just expect like hundreds of signups, right? It's like, just go and speak to people. And just to reiterate that, right? Like I would strongly encourage anybody to have, you know, sales type interactions with people and never even mention the software, right? Like, because if HighLevel for some reason disappears tomorrow, that should not affect my ability to work with my customers and produce the outcome, right? I'm talking to them about automation, marketing automation, sales, you know, this, and that, and the other, right? These are just business processes that technology helps you do faster, better, cheaper, you know, et cetera. And I've had multiple sales conversations with prospective clients where you're talking about delivering on an outcome, right? And it only ended up being HighLevel like on the fourth quarter of the conversation. Like before that, you know, it was HubSpot, and before that it was Salesforce, and we landed on HighLevel at the end. But what the items were in the proposal at the start of the conversation didn't change, but the technology did. So the point that I make there is like that the technology and the feature sets never make a difference. It's only the conversation you're having with the customer about the outcomes. So it's like, just start, just agree and say yes, take the order, and then build to order, right? Build to order, build to order. So I know that's not one thing, but that's how my brain works. So there we go.
No, I love that. I think that's so important People spend way too
Yeah.
much time building when they first come in instead of selling. But if you have that mindset and you're a builder, maybe find somebody as a partner who can sell
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'd love to hear more about Growthable, and so
Yeah.
thanks for coming on today. I just love to hear that question from everybody, and get their takes on that. So yeah, Ryan owns Growthable. Which, how long have you been in business now?
We're about 2 years old now, like officially. Yeah. So
Okay, congrats on that.
thanks. Yeah.
Um, and then they do white label support and onboarding for high level SaaS companies.
Yeah.
So excited to share more with everybody today about that. If you want to break that down for everybody, share what you do and how you do it. Love to hear more.
Absolutely, yeah. So I created Growthable because I wanted to work with agency owners because, I know that, you and I had this, geek out moment when we first met where we're basically just super like we love, I guess, how that product is shipped and how it, the way they go about, driving the innovation and the feature set and whatnot, like it's all community based, it's all, real world feedback and all this type of stuff. So, for us, it's like two nerds kind of nerding out about it. And, I'm no different. I'm just a nerd, right? And so, you know, someone sort of had said like you should do some YouTube content or whatever, and so I did some really crappy YouTube content on how to achieve X, Y, and Z. And as a result of that, like you just had like lots of people commenting, and they're all agency owners or budding agency owners, right, saying like, thanks for that, but like what about this, right? And so it was always like, just by producing the content, it was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like I'm thoroughly enjoying putting stuff out there in the world, people watching it, and then seeing me as like someone they could ask more questions and almost becoming like a little bit of a trusted advisor. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I thought, okay, well, how do I kind of how could I make this turn this into a job, right? And so the first step was just to like go like, hey, like here's a coaching call that I'll do, and I charge like $100 for the hour or whatever it might be. And so that was like the next step in kind of monetizing my educational content. And, I knew that there was a gap that is deliberate from high level's point of view, in that, they don't build for the end user, they build for the intermediary, the marketing agency or whatever. And so they can literally never support their own end users because they don't own the relationship with the end user, the agency does, right? And so, just from that simple fact, it's like, well, somebody needs to do it.
Yeah.
And you've spoken to people that own companies that have been doing this for a little while, and they're wildly successful. And so I kind of knew that as well. And I thought, all right, well, I want to I'm going to do what I do, which is, build software companies or whatever. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it for this. And I'm going to do it my way. And, thankfully, I think we timed it right. And we ended up kind of being the third brand to make an entrance in this space, in terms of the timeline. And, nowadays it's great. Like, we have, I think, not as much brand recognition as I'd like, but we have a fairly solid, when someone's going to market looking for a support partner or a white label onboarding partner or whatever, win on our own merits, for being, highly recommended from other agency owners, or, they go and talk to all three or, maybe two brands that do what we do. And, oftentimes, we're winning those customers because, we're winning our own merits, right? So the whole purpose was so that I could just talk to agency owners about what they're doing all day, every day, and get paid for it. And that's kind of worked out, which is fantastic. We have a really, like, I wanted to come in and really try to define support differently, like coming at it from from a software background, right? Like software companies, when they're subscription based, which they're supposed to be, they're not supposed to be $97 lifetime, whatever, right? Like that doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So when you actually do a subscription based software company, things are so fluid post sale that it's so much more important what happens after someone's put their credit card up and subscribed to you than it is, on the other side of that, right? So there's the sales and marketing piece, and then there's what happens, right? And so I call that journey customer success, and so do a lot of other software-based customers, right? And so we try to be customer success focused, meaning like, if you were told, go and build a customer success function over at, I don't know, HubSpot or, any software company, right? Like Calendly, I don't care where it is, right? It's like, what kinds of things do you think you would be responsible for, right? Like you would be responsible for making sure that, when someone first signs up, they've got enough information to know what to expect in the next 7 to 30 days or whatever it is, right? And that journey is designed, like it's deliberate, like, oh, okay, so I've just signed up. I've got an email. It's got a series of things that I need to do. I've got some homework. You're establishing that there's mutual expectations on both sides. It's like, hey, yeah, you subscribe to the software and you've pulled the credit card out. That's step one. I now have 30 more steps for you so that we can get you up and running. And so you're driving the adoption of these features that you and I know and love so much, right? And you not only do you just like have to say like, there's a feature, you need to say like, tell me about how you would run your business day to day. And they're like, I would do this, this, and this. You're like, cool. So here's how you can take those processes and use these features to enhance, automate, make more efficient, whatever. Someone needs to have that conversation, right? Someone in the business needs to really get in depth about their business and what they're trying to achieve. It's not product led, right? Like it's not Slack, right? Like the biggest product led companies in the world, raise like hundreds of millions of dollars in capital to build like super sophisticated systems that there's no sales team, right? And even Slack has an enterprise sales team. Do you know what I mean? So in order to do that, like there's only so much you can do around like showing someone when they're just using the software on their own, like, these buttons do this, right? Glad you're here. You've never been here before. These buttons do this, right? And so that's what we do with guided tours, right? So we put an overlay in and it's a video of a guy going like, this is the payments section and blah, 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 blah. And this is how it could be used, right? And we try to make it, not intrusive, but we want all the statistics about how many people actually complete the tour, and we can feed that back to the agency and say like, 90% of people that hit payments, go through the tour and, this, and this, right?
Oh, that's great.
And, you want to layer in all the customer success metrics that you would be responsible for. Like, it's like, what is the customer satisfaction score at any one point in time, right? And obviously you need a critical mass of customers, right? But let's say you got 100 customers, right? Or even 50. You should be able to go to the CEO and say, by the way, customer satisfaction is 98%, right? Or you should be able to go and say like our NPS score is 8 right now, right? And that's what the owner of a business or the CEO or whoever, like they need that information to make an informed decision about what they're going to be doing right in the next quarter or whatever. And so taking that approach is something that I try to drive home when I'm talking about what we do. I don't talk about us doing support because support's one element of what's required to build a customer success team. And so support is just like people having conversations, but those conversations, when they're finished, there's a transcription which tells us, what are people asking for? Like, are they asking how to cancel their subscription? Are they asking how to integrate Stripe? Are they asking, whatever? And all of that becomes data that you want to act upon, right? And so again, it's like, how do you take all the conversations, roll them up into someone who's looking after customer success as a function and including what happens in support as part of their overall customer success function, right? And so we very heavily kind of try to articulate what we do as customer success because it's all of the elements of that combined, right? So we do all that. And of course we do onboarding, which, if you've ever onboarded anybody for high level, like that it's kind of boring. It's the same thing over and over again. And, that is, if you're trying to, you're trying to build a business, it means if you want to be worth $200 an hour, you got to stop doing $10 an hour things, right? And like, I know you've probably spoken to people who maybe used that phrase before. It's from like the EOS frameworks. Yeah. So I love that book. I love the OS frameworks. It's where it's like, well, sitting there, having someone, set up their Facebook ads manager and sitting there, integrating their Zoom and Google and all that, right? Over and over and over again. That's a $5 an hour thing, right? And so, you can literally go and press a button, subscribe to Growthable, and we'll do it all for you for like a couple $100 a month, right? And so it's not worth your time to do the same thing over and over again. And it's just one of those things that you can't automate it. So therefore you need to find, quality, low cost labor options. And, that's essentially what we've built is we've built a company that finds the best possible high level people in low cost labor economies to do those repetitive things that you can't automate for you. So that's what we do. Yeah.
So tell us about, and then your onboarding flow, like what does that look like and how does that feel for customers, et cetera?
So we maintain control, right? And so we're using highlevel to basically run like thousands of calendars, right? And then we have like all of our staff hooked in running all those calendars, right? And so basically if you were a client, you'd be like, hey, my agency's called Lead Gen Automations, sign up, let's go, right? And we're like, all right, cool. Well, there's two ways that Growthable will work with you. One way is a standard way, and the other way is what's the right word? An ad hoc way, right? So the standard way is like we say to you, like, here's an SOP, and that SOP contains like all the possible things that we think would need to be done to successfully onboard a high-level sub-account in 2024 or whatever, right? And of course, all this is probably going to change at the end of this month. But as of today, it's like we know what we need to do, right? So we need to do A2P, we need to do this, we need to do that, blah blah blah. So we say that we show you that, and you say like, well, that's all we need to do. Like we're not going beyond that, right? And we go, okay, cool. So for $497 a month, there's no cap to the number of customers we'll work with. Like we're not going to do 1,000 customers in a day, but we will do 1,000 customers if you just keep booking them in, right? And so that's what we kind of mean by unlimited, is just that there's no limit to the number of customers we'll work with. So yeah, when they book in, you get a notification over in your high level instance that someone's booked, right? So you've got 5 stages. We've got booked, canceled, rescheduled, no-showed, and completed, right? And so you're getting notified that these things are happening, and then you can do whatever you want. Like you can have a checklist being sent out. You can have, in preparation for your upcoming appointment, make sure you've got your Stripe login, your Facebook login, whatever, right? And we give you all of these templates to send out from your system as well, right? And we hold the Zoom meeting. If it's a standard one, we follow that standard SOP. If it's a custom one, because you're on a pro plan or our dedicated plan, we essentially have worked with you on designing the SOP. So it could include things like entering in custom values or setting up like prompts for an AI voice system that they've integrated, or a dialer or whatever, right? Maybe they use Zappy Chat for AI responses, or Closebot or anything like that. There's conversation providers that we officially support, like My CRM Sim or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing any of that, like we can do it, we can handle it. We do the onboarding. We take up to 2 hours. So we do one 60-minute session. If we need additional time, we book another 60-minute session, and then we're finished. And then basically what we're doing is we're giving you the transcript, the Zoom recording, and then the notes. And we're saying like, right, here it is. And as a result of us working with your clients in that way, after about 30 days, you've got all this really cool information, like what is your satisfaction scores? Like how's your onboardings been going? Like how many have booked in versus completed? What is the satisfaction score for people speaking to live chat? Blah, 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 right? And so you have this, in sort of like even like 14 days, right? You've gone from not having a customer success team at all, right? This is the most common use case for agencies that we work with, to basically having a customer success team in a box, plugged in, and working like 2 days later. So yeah, it's pretty cool what we can do in such a short amount of time.
I love it. Okay, so now let's deep dive on the different plans.
Yeah, sure.
What have you got in the different plans?
Yeah, so we sort of looked at probably 4 main phases of growth for agencies. One is, the brand new agency who's entry level, We've got a free, we've actually got, so this is brand new. We have a free plan now, right?
Oh.
Yeah. The free plan is only, there is there's a ceiling to the number of people that can opt into this offer. But anyway, I'll just sort of promote it here. Instead of having humans behind the support, it's AI, right? So
Oh, okay.
we're training an AI model based on, thousands of conversations per day, and they're trained on end user knowledge bases that we've created, or like the lead connector, domain or whatever, right? So we take all available end user articles that have ever been written, plus the conversations that are happening between end users and our AI, and we're training that on a daily basis. You can have that widget without human beings behind it for free today. Go and sign up, get it. Put the widget in your agency, right? Off you go. So that's, if you just, you're basically starting out and you've got no customers, or maybe you got 3 customers or something like that, right? Like, off you go. We've got the next level up, which is called our premium plan. It's more about the agency getting support versus the end users, getting support, where they know that they want to level up. And unfortunately, as of this conversation happening on the 10th of, 8th of October or whatever, high level support is a little bit hit and miss. And so a lot of agency owners are moving faster than high level support can address their needs, right? And so, they're really trying to gain momentum, really trying to get to the fact where to their client acquisition motions are, they've got momentum, right? And so they can predict, 3 new customers a week or whatever. So that plan is for you, right? Where it's mainly about support for the agency, but we know that you've probably got maybe 5 to 10 sub accounts. Those users are all going to get 24/7 live chat. So they've got human beings answering questions for them. They've got ticketing and ticket numbers and all those types of things and escalations and processes. But there's very, very limited onboarding on that plan for a reason. And the reason being is like, you're not actually bringing on new clients that regularly. Like there's no set cadence of new client acquisition happening for you. So that's $399 US as of today, right? For an extra 99, I think it is, so $497, it's even less. You go up to probably our most popular plan. I think it's about 50% of the customer base are on this plan, right? And so it's the $497 plan. So, we try to make the numbers as close to high levels pricing as possible because everybody's used to that from a psychology point. It's called anchoring, as you probably know. And so we're sort of already anchored into those prices. And so from the $497 point of view, you get 2 hours of onboarding, and it's our standard SOP, right? So the only reason we say 2 hours is if you're using things in the SOP that take a lot of time. Things that take a lot of time are A2P, use our snapshot and whatever to try and, speed that process up. Facebook, Play, UpHex, those types of things, right? Like we support those tools, right? And we support onboarding those tools. So, but the most common thing that takes time in those tools is getting Facebook Ads Manager and a business profile and sharing the assets and making a pixel and blah, 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 right? It's all horrible. And, Mark Zuckerberg's chasing the user interface like every 5 seconds, right? And it's like, just decide on what. So we do all that for $497, right? It's insane value. Like, honestly, it's insane value. We've got a theme customizer. We've got unlimited onboarding sessions. We've got 2 hours. We've got 24/7 live chat. We've got, guided tours. You've got a knowledge base. You've got AI. You've got all sorts of stuff. Then when you come to us as an agency, you're like, great, but I've just introduced this really cool snapshot and I need, the person to just sit there and work through like these first 10 custom values. Otherwise the snapshot won't work, right? As soon as you do something kind of
custom,
unique, custom, we push you to our pro plan, which is $799. Pro plan gives you priority ticketing. So if something does get escalated to a ticket, yours gets dealt with first in the queue, in the way that we prioritize it. You get an updated widget, which allows you to customize every element of the widget. So imagine a little widget in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, like the icon, the color, the brand, the button, the menu items. All of it can be customized however you like. And you can do some really cool stuff with that widget. Like you can ask would you recommend us, and get an NPS score. You can make notifications about new features that you've released. You can put video overlays, like you can do all sorts of stuff. And then, of course, with the onboarding, it means that you can design kind of your own journey, right? And so we could spend 2 hours with that client and do literally almost anything you've asked. Like if you wanted us to, go on to their high level system and just start entering in custom values, or prompting an AI voice system that you've got, or connecting a power dialer, like we would do that sort of stuff, even though it's not really native to high level, we'll do it for you, right? So that's
Wow. And you said that's only $7.97?
$7.99, yeah. So $7.99. Yeah, it's crazy,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
Then we've got, our most expensive plan, which is called our dedicated plan. And so if anybody goes on that, really they're humming along, right? They're getting plenty of new clients every week, and they need to develop their customer success team so that it has an identity, and what do I mean by that is, like, instead of just going, I don't know who's in charge of what, it's just Growthable. We don't know what happens. It's, we know that there's a bunch of people that look after all of our stuff, but it's a bit of a black box, right? And even after all the information that we provide, it can be a bit of a black box, right? That customer's sitting there going, no, I need my customers to know that, this guy named Josh, or this girl named, Princess, or whatever, right? Like, they are my customer success manager, and we want them to kind of develop a rapport with our clients, and they need to know who they are, like, so if I've got an issue and the live chat can't, help me, it'll get escalated to this one person. And so all roads lead to this one person who's making sure that everybody's happy with their subscription, with the features they've got, with the plan that they're on, refunds, cancellations, like it's all going to this one person. And so when we do that, we are promoting someone from our shared resource team onto just working with your brand, right? And so they essentially become a VA for you full-time that worked at Growthable for a year. So they know how to do all the onboarding and everything that we do. They're a high-level expert, and you don't have to go and find the person. We can just click our fingers essentially, and transfer them to work only with your brand. So it's a good option for people making the transition of going from like using a third-party provider or shared resource like us to thinking about a full-time resource. And it's like, you could do that for a year and then go, you know what, we're going to go with a full-time resource. And we're like, cool, we'll take them back. We'll redeploy them. You win, we win. And essentially, success for us is like someone who uses all 4 plans and eventually leaves us, right? We want to be like the dating site that you get off of because you found a relationship, right? And so, if you don't need a full-time resource, great, we can be partners forever. But if you definitely, there's definitely agencies out there that need an in-house team. Like, it's just not possible, the number of customers they have. And so when you get to that point, we're happy to go, all right, well, we're glad that you're successful. See you around the traps, So that's it.
I love that. So is that tier? Because that's interesting, because I haven't heard of anything like that before. Is that person like doing like VA type of tasks, or is it just more of on the receiving end, like they're only being prompted like when things come in?
No, they can do tasks. So the idea behind them only working for one brand is that they have room to move beyond just what they would do for Growthable, right? So for Growthable, they show up to a Zoom meeting, they know the SOP they're going to follow, they do it, and then as soon as they finish that call, they go to a different brand, a different agency, a different audience, right? But you could say, well, every day at 9 o'clock, I want you to just run a tech session, like an office hours session, right? And they could just be demoing your own white label, and that's a group training call, right? And you could do that twice a week. You could have them updating your own system. So you could say at 4 o'clock every day, I need you to go into ClickUp, and I need you to go, so as long as it's within reason, like you would ask any other internal hire, to do the administrative things that they need to do, then it's in the remit of their responsibility. So it's great. Yeah.
Very cool. I love that you did that. That's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people opt in for that one, but yeah, I mean, there's a handful of people on there, and they're busy, right? Like, and
Right.
they needed it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a good intermediary stepping stone to when you're really getting to become a serious business where you're starting to pay people like, six-figure salaries to come on and really create a function for you. It's like, you know, this is so much more affordable than that, and
Right.
we would do a really, really, really like high quality job. So yeah, it's a good option for people that are just like, I don't have 3 months to go and find this person. I just need a solution now, and so we
Right.
can come.
Not to mention the training.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
love
we have
that.
that as well. So
Love it. Very cool. Is there anything behind the scenes that you want to show us about Growthable, what you do, how you do it?
yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't know how to. Oh, here we go. Present. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
So
little
let me just.
present button.
Yeah. Let
And
me.
for
Yeah.
for StreamYard, you have to do if you share a new tab, you have to hit the button, share new tab, just so you know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let me just see if I can log in here and show you some stuff. So.
While you're doing that, I try to ask everybody this question on my interviews. What's one thing, like, if you were to tell your earlier self, like, if you could reteach yourself something, what would it be?
Oh man. You know what? I did think about this call coming up, and I made a note about what this one was. Right. This is just going into how much of a nerd I am, right? So I was I was watching, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He has this podcast called Star Talk. Maybe you're not familiar with Neil deGrasse
No,
Tyson, but he's
no,
a
no, no.
famous. He's a cosmologist. He's kind of like this generation's Carl Sagan. Anyway, I'm a space nerd. Anyway, so like I'm sort of like someone who thinks that they're aligned with scientific thinking, right? Which is, first principles thinking, which is basically observational data and, you know, basically everything's derivative of what you can prove or not prove in experiments, right? So I'm good with experimenting in marketing, but I'm as a business owner, I guess, tell you why this is important, right? So scientists, like if I was like a PhD in, XYZ, right? Like if I was conducting research, they are happiest when a preconceived notion is absolutely shattered, right? And so, something that they were 100% sort of sold on being fact is blown away and it's no longer fact. And so their whole kind of world is shaken by this type of thing, right? And I think as business owners, we don't like that. And when we go into running companies and building companies and building brands, I feel like we want to feel like we know what we know, right? And I think what I need to, and so the reason I bring this up is that I didn't even have a coach or an accountability team until like March this year. And what was super interesting is like I didn't even think I needed them. And then when I actually brought them on and we did weekly meetings where I'm like presenting my numbers, presenting my plans, presenting my next, this is going to be my next marketing campaign, this is my next, change to the pricing or whatever. Like they would pick it apart. I thought I was doing well with like, you know, six figures a month or whatever, and they're doing like multiple seven figures, a day, and you think you're doing really good with the number of leads you get in a month, and they're like, yeah, we do that on a day, and it's like just work with these people that were like, at the level up from you, and they're shattering your preconceived notions of what's working and what's not, and it's like allow your preconceived notions to get shattered every week, and be happy about it.
Yeah.
That's what I would honestly tell even myself from a year ago, right? And I think the older you get, like I'm like 40 plus, right? So the older you get, probably the more you dig your heels in with what you think you know, right? And I think the only way to continually grow beyond your own constraints is to shatter all your preconceived notions. And the only way to do that is have someone else come in and say, that's crap, right? This can be
Yeah.
done so much better, right? So that's my answer to that.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's so important to be around people who are doing, I think, I don't want to say better than you, but
Sure, though,
you know, there's probably a better way to say that. But I think that's so important or be in a community where you're all striving, like, to be leveling up,
yeah,
and have like a group focus. And I think masterminds are so important.
big
Uh,
time. Yeah, we
so
just had
I love
one
to
here
hear
in
this.
Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that go, by the way?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, it was difficult to pull off from a logistics point of view. Sean, of course, is agreeing that he was going to be participating or whatever. But like, I know even Sean now has kind of grown beyond. It's not just him kind of doing what he wants. You can kind of tell that there's a legal team saying you can say yes to this, you can say no to this. There's a marketing team saying you can say yes to this, you can say no to this. And so he's kind of moving fast. Days, I think, they're starting to slow down a little bit,
Oh,
but
okay.
we did get buy-in. They showed up. We had all three founders on a Zoom, for ask me anything type thing. We had Chase come in and do a session, which was amazing, from his place in Mexico. We had Wesley run a raffle and give away some stuff, and they provided merch, and so it
Oh, cool.
felt like a high-level event because of their participation,
Yeah.
which is what we wanted, because they're not ready to fly out here for
Yeah.
60 people on seats, right? So, which is fair enough. You got the summit in October. There's like over 1,000 people. Whatever, and yeah, it was good. Like it definitely solidified some of the relationships that we have in our own community geographically. Like Australia is, we always punch quite sort of above our weight in terms of per capita, like what we're able to achieve. But just to be able to meet everybody in person, just to be able to be in the same room as all these like-minded people, like it does just, I think it solidifies relationships. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
you think the people that you're talking to on Zoom all day, every day in your community are your people, and then when you meet them, it's that make or break. Like, you either vibe with them or you don't. And I would say almost 99 times out of 100, they are exactly who you thought they were, right? Which is nice. And so you finally get to shake their hand or whatever, and have a beer with them or whatever it is, coffee, whatever, and actually meet them as real humans, which is nice. So yeah.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad it went well.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, I mean, it costs an awful lot of money, and it
I'm
cost,
sure.
it was very difficult to do. I used to work in kind of events a little bit, but like the whole event management thing is not an industry I would like to go back to. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, it was good. It was very good. So I'm going to show you just some bits and pieces, right? But let me just sign in here. All right. So I do present, and then I do share screen. Don't show these tips again. And then I do that window. Is that going to work? You said about the window?
It should work.
Let's
Or the
try it.
tab. Either one.
Oh, I can do entire screen. There we go. That'll do. There we go. Are we
There we
sharing?
go. We are good.
Cool. All righty. So this is just a high-level instance that we have that just happens to be the one that runs all of our bookings. But anyway, so when you work with us, you basically work with us on one plan or the other. It's like either our 497 or our Pro, or you're on either side of that, as I mentioned. But I would say it's almost exactly like 48% of clients are on the 497, and like 52 are on Pro or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so our widget, can be customized, right? So I, talk about, I've called it the resource center. I've got this blue color. I've got a video of myself kind of talking about, whatever I'm talking about here. I've got a checklist of things. I've got guided tours. I've got a knowledge base, and so I can search across different guided tours that would, be useful if I wanted to know, like, okay, well, how do I use like the launch pad, right? And so I can kind of kick that off like this, and I have this AI generated person who's going to take me through some steps of what I need to do here. That would also kick off automatically. If this gets in the way, you can just turn it off and turn it back on again. So you've got this widget that's super useful. You can ask the AI stuff. So you can be like, how do I connect multiple Google Bee profiles. I don't know if it even knows the answer to that. Hopefully it does. There we go, it does. So you've got AI, you've got live chat from humans, of course, which is a big part of what we do. So you can click on this and you can just start typing, how do I add multiple accounts to GBP? And this is a demo that shows you all the functionality, but essentially what happens is I could get told, go and read these articles. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to get in touch and I want to talk to a real person. So then I click on live chat and I'm dropped into the queue and I can be like, hello. And someone somewhere will pick up that chat.
Love it. Yeah.
Look, there's already somebody there. So less than 1 second response time. Hey, Mark. Going good. Doing a live webinar. You can close the chat. Thanks anyway. So very fast. We generally say that our response times are 2 minutes or less. That's the current figure. That's going to change. If we get 10 customers tomorrow, it might go up by 10 seconds or something like that, right? So off we go, give them a thumbs up, and we minimize. So that's kind of like the live chat. That's the guided to is the knowledge base, the AI, and so on. I think we were talking about the SOP before, and so it's worth just kind of looking at the document that we would follow for the standard SOP, and this is available on our website. It's the main kind of thing that people opt into. But if you look at onboarding, the left-hand side gives you like the overview of what we would normally cover. So we do A2P, we do regulatory bundles for Australia, we do know your customer in the UK, we do brand submissions, campaign submissions, we do third-party plugins like UpX Play, we do Facebook Ads Manager. So this is all standard, right? You don't need to be on our most expensive plan to be doing any of this because this is all included on our first 2 plans. You could just remove this if you didn't want to do this, and that would still be within scope because you didn't add anything unique, you removed, right? And you can, of course, reorder those things, right? Yeah, and then then we've also kind of got the ability to, have a knowledge base, of course, so you can just like click on a knowledge base. It would take you to a knowledge base, and knowledge bases, like I see people coming up with all sorts of solutions for knowledge bases all the time. And what they don't realize is like, actually, it's really difficult to do the knowledge base. Like we've had the human being doing a knowledge base for 2 years almost, right? And essentially you need to go out, you need to find the article written by HighLevel, strip it back, make sure that there's no agency functionality included in it, and then rewrite it for the end user.
Right.
So that there's no links to anything that they could trace it back to HighLevel, no images that show HighLevel, no links that show HighLevel, and then you can publish it as an end user article. And so just be careful of automated knowledge bases because they could contain, what's the word? It breaks white label, right?
Right.
And, we spend our whole lives trying to avoid breaking white label, basically.
Yeah.
So this knowledge base is called the support desk, but you could call it whatever you like. It has, huge amounts of information in here. You can log tickets from within here. So I could submit a request, and that would be like an offline.
So on behalf of a client, you could submit a ticket.
Yeah, and you could also, as the agency owner, see where tickets are at.
Do you get notified of a ticket?
You only if you opt in to be copied in on it because it's an email, right? And so you could be notified of a ticket if you opt into that notification, essentially.
Okay. Knowledge base articles?
You can write your own knowledge base articles, yeah.
Very cool.
But the beauty of that is, like, let's say you want to go for a white label knowledge base, right? So I want to make a distinction clear between gray label and white label. When we do a knowledge base for a customer, it's truly white labeled, meaning we're taking a version of the gray label knowledge base and then we're white labeling it, meaning we're putting your logo on it, your, yes, the articles come through and they're written in a generic way, but the URL is, whatever.zendesk.com, and that's in English and it's in US English or whatever. And so you can have multiple language versions of this database. You could have multiple articles that were contributed just by you. And of course, then, the way that the mechanism where like the robot or the AI is responding to questions, it needs its repository of information, and that repository of information can include what you've contributed, right?
Oh, cool.
So it's really awesome the way that we do this from a white labeled point of view, because it is truly white labeled, meaning it is unique to you, right? It is not the same knowledge base that 1,000 other agencies are using. It's not, right? It's your own. So that's really an important distinction that we make there. The other thing is, I talked about all the, the importance of, all that information. So let me just pull up. Am I still sharing, or have I stopped sharing?
You stopped sharing for a minute.
Okay, let me just pull something up real quick. So, okay. So this would be like an example of, so we basically have like a rolling 30-day thing, right?
Yeah.
So you sign up, we deploy, the paragraph of JavaScript into your agency level, and then all of this cool stuff happens, right? And so, 30 days from now, you could be looking at, how many conversations is the team having for me, right? What's the satisfaction rating, right? So the 98.2, this is real data, by the way, 2-minute response,
Yeah, this is cool.
98, 32-minute conversations, right? And so it's simple as going like,
that's an average, so I assume.
That's right, yeah. And so so over the last 30 days, like every person we speak to on average takes 32 minutes to finish the conversation, right? And so, from an ROI point of view, it's like, what is your time worth, right?
Yeah.
We can have 2 conversations and save you an hour, right?
Right.
If you're worth $50 an hour, $100 an hour, let's just make it even. Like if you're worth $100 an hour, we have 2 conversations, we've saved you $200, right, of your own productivity and your own value. And so we like to use this information to demonstrate the value that we bring to agency owners. It's like, you could have spent all this time answering all these, basic questions yourself, but you're handing it off. And so we want this to paint an ROI story, right? Like the beauty of presenting the data is that it tells the story of you getting a return.
Yes, I love that. That's so important to do for your end users too. And I love that you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
Getting these metrics in your hands is so important. So I love that.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else we should know before we go about Growthable and what you guys are doing over there, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, we've just released a theme customizer. I don't have anything to show you on that today, but let me just stop that camera there. Hang on, that's the wrong one. Yeah, we just. Am I back on the normal screen here?
Yeah.
We just did a theme customizer because we knew that some of the things that an entry-level agency wants to do is just change like the dashboard elements and the menu item to just look different, right? And so. We now have that available. And basically what we're doing is without giving too much away, is like, so similar to what you just saw with all those metrics, right? Basically, you're going to have a portal that you can log into, and you can have it, just as another menu link in your high-level system, right? Which has everything available to you, right? And so you'll just have one menu link where you can go and basically have a finger on the pulse of, everything to do with customer success. And what else? Oh, yeah. And so what does that look like in the AI era, right? So imagine, I don't know if I should say this, but anyway, we'll just say it. So what we do is like every time you have a conversation, right, there's a blurb, right? And there's the transcript, right?
Uh-huh.
So what we're doing now is we're feeding the conversations that we have with customers into, sentiment analysis and then other analysis. So sentiment is easy. What do we think the overall sentiment with your customers is, positive, negative, neutral, whatever. But then what we can do is we can say, okay, well, if we've got enough data, like over 30 days, if you've had like, say 100 conversations, you're like, now tell me with great accuracy, like, what are the common themes around what's being asked in my agency,
Right.
right? And so we've already built like the mechanism now where we can send you a summary. We're doing this so that it happens in real time, but basically it's like, we recommend you create 3 FAQs. The first one should be around like how you go and update your payment method, because that's the most frequently asked question. The second one is on canceling the subscription. The third one is, how to get, I don't know, like moving a pipeline, moving an opportunity from one stage to another, and how to track which automations it fires or something like that, right? And so yeah, it's awesome. Like we've established this thing where we do kind of these quarterly business reviews with clients, and it's like based on every conversation we've had over the last like 90 days, it's like here's the recommendation, and it's awesome. Like the amount of
That is really
time,
cool. Yeah.
that you can save by going into that detail and finding it out is really cool. So yeah, and we want to have all this happening basically in real time in a single dashboard. So if my competitors are watching this and they run off to build that, so be it. But like, it's coming. Right?
I love that. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Ryan. I appreciate it. Well, today for me, tomorrow for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always my running joke with anybody that I talk to in Aussie.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks so much for joining us. I'll drop the link below, and if you have any questions, just drop them, and Ryan and I can get them answered. And we'll see you in our next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jenna. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.